So in this video, we are going to be breaking down the shocking arrest of Andrew and Tristan Tate in the United States, the dozens of new criminal charges they now face in the UK, what happens next with extradition, and whether they could spend the rest of their lives behind bars if convicted. We'll also look at the political debate surrounding the case and hear reactions from people connected to the brothers. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one.
Andrew and Tristan Tate were arrested in Miami this weekend after UK prosecutors added 38 new charges, including further counts of rape and sex trafficking to the 21 they were already facing. They could now be extradited to the UK, but as dual US citizens, they will fight to remain in Florida. Both brothers have always denied criminality, including on this show, and Andrew Tate says the British case against him is corrupt. Well, a lawyer for the brothers said they're currently being held in solitary confinement like al-Qaeda terrorists and that they are political prisoners. But will that defence be enough to keep them in the United States? David Arenberg is a US attorney and a former state senator in Florida, and he joins me now. Mr. Arenberg, thank you very much indeed for joining me. How significant are these arrests of Andrew and Tristan Tate on United States soil, especially given the fact there is an extradition treaty, obviously, with the UK, and the belief is the UK are pushing to have them brought to the UK for justice?
Piers, good to be with you. It's very significant. We're talking about 59 total charges now, relating to 7 alleged victims for offenses that span between 2010 and 2017. You have the 21 original charges, and now you have 38 new charges. And so you have 3 alleged victims in the first round of charges, and now an additional 4 victims here. And I know that there's talk on the internet that somehow the Trump administration and allies are going to somehow block the extradition. But since the extradition treaty has been signed between the UK and the US, only one case has ever even been held up for extradition. This is a matter of course where people accused of serious crimes, and this is a serious crime, and when there is at least probable cause that there's enough evidence to justify the arrest, that those people are sent back. It may take a while, it may take a year, it may take 2 years, but these brothers, I believe, will be sent back to the UK and they will face justice.
I mean, the allegations include rape, child pornography, extreme pornography, trafficking for sexual exploitation, sexual assault. These are serious, serious charges. I guess the obvious question is, it's already been rumbling on for many years, this case against both of them. You know, you talk there, it could take a year or more for this. They might appeal, they might delay, whatever. You know, why does it take so long, this?
It's a good question. The wheels of justice move slowly, Piers. So in the meantime, while the cases are still pending in Romania and the UK, now you have an additional delay in the United States because the brothers are going to be able to try to fight extradition. It's a loser. They're not going to stop the extradition, but they can go from judge to appellate court, even to the US Supreme Court. They can fight it all the way. But here's the bright spot for those of us who want justice, is that as they appeal, they are most likely going to be held in a detention facility, in a jail. They're not going to be out there living the high life like they have been in Florida. They're not going to be co-hosting bare knuckles fighting competitions. They're going to be in a cell while they wait through the appeals.
There was a statement from Joseph McBride, who's the lawyer representing both brothers. Last night, the United Kingdom, a corrupt and fallen nation that jails its own citizens for tweets while ignoring rape gangs it found too inconvenient to prosecute, conjured up a wave of charges against the Tate brothers. This is not law enforcement. This is a political hit ordered by a dying empire that fears 2 free men with a microphone more than it fears actual criminals walking its streets. And their case has been taken up by a lot of people online, including Nick Fuentes, who tweeted, "Free Andrew and Tristan Tate. It would be a national humiliation," he said, the United States to allow the UK to extradite them. 2 American citizens over trumped-up Me Too charges. The same country that persecutes white people for speech while importing rapist migrants. So you can see the way the political wind is blowing here in certain quarters. The Trumps have historically been, reasonably friendly in terms of their view of the Tates. Does this change that?
I don't think so, Piers, because it's limited to what the Trumps can do here. So first off, what hypocrisy for these internet influencers to take the side of the Tates when they are some of the leading voices against Epstein and the so-called Epstein class. Well, how is this any different than what Epstein had done? At least the accusations are just as serious here, but yet they take up for these guys. I don't know the difference other than I guess they identify Andrew Tate with themselves and the MAGA movement. But even if Trump wanted to do something here, the court system is independent. The only thing that the Trump administration could do if they wanted to is that at the very end, when the courts have ruled and they're about to sign off on sending them back to the UK, the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, could block it because he could say that this is a political prosecution, and that would violate Article 4 of the treaty between the US and the UK. But that is almost never the case. I mean, that has happened once to a diplomat, not someone like this. And does the Trump administration really want to be on the side of these notorious manosphere, misogynist, pro-terrorist individuals? I don't think so. And remember, even in the MAGA movement, there's a split when it comes to the Tates, because Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, and his attorney general have been trying to get them arrested in Florida. They've been investigating them. They want them out of our state. We may be the free state of Florida, but not for these guys. And so I think that this is too much of a hot potato for the Trump administration to stand in the way of an ultimate extradition.
The final question, if they were convicted on all counts of all these charges, what kind of sentence could they be looking at?
The rest of their lives in prison. I mean, and that's just in the UK. There's also charges back in Romania, and there's an investigation still underway in the United States. So I do not think that the Tate brothers will be able to go back to the life they're used to. I think that their academy, their school, which gives out PhDs for young men to try to be misogynists like them, the PhD stands for pimp and hose degrees. I mean, that tells you who these people are. So I think they're facing the rest of their lives in a prison cell.
David Arenbo, thank you very much indeed for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Piers.
Last time I interviewed Braden Peters, better known as Clavicular, he'd faced some criticism for a trip to Miami in which he appeared with, among others, Andrew and Tristan Tate. Well, Kanye West's song Heil Hitler was played in a nightclub, and videos showed Myron Gaines performing a Nazi salute, while the likes of Nick Fuentes and Sneeko laughed along. Well, this time it's a visit to Israel, which is stirring controversy. Whether it was designed to improve his image with the Jewish community or for him to improve Israel's image with everybody else is a matter of debate. Either way, it didn't all go according to plan. Many Israeli commentators condemned his past association with anti-Semites. A fake photo of Clavicular and Ben Gvir was viewed many millions of times. A young female IDF soldier was struck off and given a suspended jail sentence for appearing alongside him in a live stream. The Israeli news station I-24 said, quote, "The visit of the anti-Semitic blogger Clavicular has come to an end, but the consequences are still being felt in Israel." Well, Clavicular rejoins me on Uncensored now. Welcome back to Uncensored.
Hey, thanks for having me back, Piers.
So look, there's a lot going on in your world. I'm going to get to that very quickly. But just first of all, obviously the last time I spoke to you, you just had this big furore in which you'd been in this club with the Tates and others. And we've got this big breaking news this week, obviously, about Andrew and Tristan Tate being arrested in America. What's been your reaction to this?
So I actually pulled up about 5 minutes after that whole situation took place. It was at a boxing event. So that was quite surprising to hear because, I thought I was going to run into the Tate brothers. I don't know anything about the case personally, but, obviously they're innocent until proven guilty. So we'll see what happens. But, I really don't know anything too much, but let's see what happens.
Have you had much contact with them since the Miami nightclub incident?
Yeah. I've talked to Tate, I think once or twice, and we've done collaborations, more so with Andrew than Tristan. But yeah, I've seen them once or twice.
How do you feel about this sort of situation? They're facing 58 charges now, incredibly serious charges across a wide range of different things, from rape and sexual abuse to, child pornography and so on. Will you now distance yourself from them completely? I mean, how are you viewing what is happening here?
Well, it's really not too surprising because this is what happens to a lot of different influencers. Is there's a lot of political attacks with, a lot of these strung up charges. So, it's happened to me in the past. So political persecution through legal means is nothing new. So, it's just another case of that.
I mean, how do you know that it's that? How do you know for sure that these are not charges with merit? 7 different women, they're making a number of very serious allegations. How can you be so confident this is just a trumped up, as you put it, political persecution?
Well, I could say this. Once again, they're innocent until proven guilty.
That is true, but you've already effectively convicted the alleged victims as being liars.
Well, I mean, in the last proceedings of this case, if I remember correctly, there was people who were paid to make certain statements. So that whole thing really calls a lot into concern. So, I do believe in due process. So that's what I have to say about that.
I mean, my final question on this, because I want to move on to you, but when you say you believe in due process, but you also say it's a trumped up political persecution, those two things can't be true at the same time.
Why not?
Well, because in the second part of that, you're basically saying this is all trumped up, it's all political, there's no merit here, these charges are ridiculous. But in the first part, you think due process matters. Does it not matter for the alleged victims?
Well, I mean, it's a little bit ridiculous, the entire thing about the extradition. I think it's a bit of an embarrassment to the United States to allow the UK to come in and do an arrest on United States soil in a very public way.
Well, to be fair, the Americans did the arrest, and we have an extradtion treaty between the
With
US and
Interpol.
UK. I mean, most of the crimes were allegedly committed in the UK. Why shouldn't they? Why shouldn't they do this?
Well, it's just a bit of an embarrassment.
But is that because essentially you don't believe any of the allegations?
Well, no, I believe that, the United States shouldn't, be extraditing to the United Kingdom. But that's besides the point. So let's move on.
Now let's break down what we've just heard. This interview highlights 2 very different perspectives. On one side, there are serious criminal allegations and a legal process that could lead to extradition and trial. On the other, supporters of the Tate brothers argue the case is politically motivated and insist they should be presumed innocent until proven guilty. Ultimately, those questions will be decided in court, not in the court of public opinion. As this story develops, the legal proceedings in the United States, the United Kingdom, and Romania will all play a significant role in determining what happens next.